I stayed at home for a whole year without work, and I was about to run out of money to spend. But the tax bureau came to me and said that I made 15 million last year and needed to pay 350,000 yuan in taxes. At this time, I was confused on the spot. I stared at the numbers on the screen and thought I was dazzled. Please pay 350,000 yuan in tax. I looked back and forth 3 times, and I still couldn't believe it. I graduated in June last year, submitted thousands of resumes, interviewed more than 40 companies, and none of them wanted me. Today, I still heard from my classmates that I could get a lot of money for tax refunds, so I went to the tax hall on purpose, thinking that even if I refunded 200 or 300 yuan, it would be enough for me to last a week. I tried to keep my tone as calm as possible, and asked the female staff behind the counter, saying, "Hello, is it a miscalculation? I didn't have a job last year. How could I have to pay so much tax?" The staff member didn't raise his head, tapped his finger twice on the keyboard, turned the screen to me, and said that the system result will not be wrong. Let me see for myself whether the name and ID number are mine. I leaned over to take a look. Lin Chen. The ID number is not bad, I said again, but I really don't have any income. She finally raised her head and looked at me. That look I was too familiar with. The kind of people on the street when they watched homeless people rummage through trash cans, and said that it was not up to me to have the final say on whether there was income or not. I asked her if she could help me check the specific income details. Since the system said that I have income, there should always be a source. Which company issued it? What type? She impatiently told me to wait, then tapped a few times on the keyboard, stared at the screen for 2 seconds, and said that the income from labor remuneration totaled 15 million for the whole year, and the distribution unit was Tianhong Group. Tianhong Group, that is the largest listed company in Binhai City, with a market value of more than 20 billion, covering real estate, finance, technology. I haven't even seen their doorman. I quickly said that this is impossible, but she pushed the chair back, hugged her hands in front of her chest, and said that it can't be my business. The system is displayed like this. If you have any questions, you can go through the appeal process. Don't delay time here. There are still people queuing up behind, and they deliberately raised their voices a little bit. The team behind immediately became lively. Some people said that the one in front could hurry up. Some people said how big it was. Paying a tax was like asking for his life. And some people said that these young people now don't want to pay money when they make money, and they pretend to be poor when they arrive at the tax bureau. I turned my head to explain. A big sister with permed curly hair looked me up and down and said 15 million. Dressed like this. Yo. The invisible rich man. A few people next to him were laughing. I looked down at my washed white sweatshirt. The cuffs were worn out of the thread. This is my only decent coat. I bought it in college. Worn it for 4 years. I quickly said that I really didn't make that much money. My voice trembled uncontrollably. I said that I just graduated last year. I haven't found a job, and the total amount in my bank card is more than 3 yuan. As a result, a middle-aged man wearing glasses behind pushed the frame and said that more than 3 yuan came to the tax bureau. Come and rub the air conditioner. And another burst of laughter came. I clenched the ID card in my hand, pinched my nails into my palms, and asked if I could take a look at the income flow in the system. And the impatience on the staff's face overflowed, saying that I was annoyed. I wanted to see the flow to go to the bank. This is the tax bureau, only responsible for taxation, and asked me if I could pay it. I was just about to speak, but she went on to say that if you don't pay, you will be overdue, and you will be charged a late fee every day. And finally you will be on the list of dishonesty. The 3 words of the list of dishonest people are directly nailed to my mind. I have submitted thousands of resumes this year, and finally 2 have entered the end. If I am on the list of dishonest, all my efforts will not be in vain. At this time, a voice came from the depths of the hall. Everyone turned their heads to look over. A middle-aged man in a dark shirt walked over, with a professional expression on his face that had dealt with countless disputes. The staff member immediately stood up and said, "Director Zhang, this taxpayer had an objection to the settlement results and had been entangled here." Director Zhang nodded, turned to me, and said in a much more polite tone than the staff, saying that this gentleman, tell me about the situation. I thought I had met someone who could reason, so I told him, "Leader, I didn't work all year last year. My name is Lin Chen, 23 years old. I graduated in June last year, and I haven't found a job until now. The system said that I earn 15 million a year, saying that it is the labor remuneration issued by Tianhong Group, but I haven't even entered the door of Tianhong Group." After hearing this, Director Zhang raised his hand to the onlookers behind him, saying that everyone should be calm and impatient, and the small situation would be dealt with quickly, and the discussion would be quieter. He turned to me again and said that he understood my mood. 15 million. Suddenly asked me to pay 350,000 yuan in taxes. No one could accept it. It was normal, but when the conversation changed, he said that every income under my name, the issuing unit must be declared in accordance with the law. Tianhong Group is a listed company. How can their financial system go wrong? The last sentence is not heavy, but I listen to it and feel that the floor tiles under my feet are sinking. And the onlookers are blowing up again. Some people say that the accounts of listed companies can be fake. Some people say that they are right, and they pay taxes honestly when they make money. And some people say that they are young. Can they learn something? Director Zhang sighed again, looking earnest, and said, young man, I think you are not very old. You just graduated. Right. The first step into society. Don't go crooked. 350,000 is a lot. But compared with your future prospects, it is not worth mentioning. And it is said that I will not pay today. And the system will automatically add late fees tomorrow, more and more day by day, and I will be blacklisted in the end. Not to mention looking for a job. Even the bank card is frozen for me. And there will be no place to cry when the time comes. That he also said that I was a first-time offender and could help me apply for installments or a few days of grace. But only if I had to pay the tax first. The people behind began to echo again, saying that Director Zhang was really a good person. And he gave him a grace period. And he was directly enforced in another place. So let me hand it over quickly. Don't delay everyone's time. 350,000. I can't even make up 35 yuan. But what I am more afraid of is that when my mother calls to ask my son how his job is going, I have to tell her, Mom, I have become an old man. Director Zhang saw my wavering and added, saying that I have been in a cold window for more than 10 years. Isn't it just to find a good job? If you are blacklisted, you will never be able to wash it off in your file. So let me weigh it myself. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, there was something in my eyes, but they didn't fall off. And I said I would hand it over. Director Zhang immediately had a standard smile on his face and said that this was right. I stared at him again. But I have a condition. I want you to produce a written certificate proving that I had an income of 15 million last year, that I need to pay 350,000 yuan in taxes, and that the issuing unit is Tianhong Group, in black and white, with an official seal. Director Zhang and the staff looked at each other and said that they usually don't come out of this. So I immediately interrupted him and said that I paid 350,000 yuan. And I didn't even have a receipt. My voice calmed down, but it was more stable than just now. And I said that if you can't prove that I have this income, then why should I pay this tax? The surrounding masses began to whisper to each other. Some people said that this was a bit reasonable. Some said that it was natural to pay for the voucher. And some people said that the young man was very quick-witted. Director Zhang was silent for a few seconds, said okay, and opened it to him. 3 minutes later, a certificate stamped with a bright red official seal was handed to me, which said taxpayer Lin Chen. During the period from January to December X, the income type of labor remuneration, the issuing unit Tianhong Group Company Limited. The amount was RMB 15,000,000, and the individual income tax should be paid 350,000 yuan. And the payment status was pending. I looked at it for a long time, black and white, and red seals, and then I took out my mobile phone, dialed a phone number from a small loan company I had seen on the internet before, and said, hey, I want to borrow money, 350,000 yuan. Urgently. The other party reported interest, 6 cents per month, and I said okay. 20 minutes later, the money arrived. I transferred 350,000 yuan to the designated account of the tax bureau, and the staff made a stroke on the payment status, changed it to have been paid in full on X year X month X day, re-stamped, and handed it to me. I folded the certificate and put it in my pocket, didn't leave, took out my mobile phone, dialed 110, and said that I wanted to call the police. I have 15 million labor remuneration in Tianhong Group. But not a penny came to me. I suspected that someone was using my identity and transferred all the money. The other end of the phone was silent for 2 seconds, and asked my husband, how much did you say? I said 15 million, and said that I had evidence. And the Binhai Municipal Taxation Bureau had just issued it to me, in black and white, and with the official seal. 40 minutes later, I stood in the reception hall of the Qingdong branch of the Binhai Municipal Public Security Bureau. The police officer on duty, surnamed Zhao, in his early 30s, was drinking tea. I put the certificate in front of him, saying, Officer Zhao, I want to report the case. Someone fraudulently used my identity to receive 15 million labor remuneration in Tianhong Group. The money did not reach my account, but the tax has been deducted in my name. Officer Zhao put down the cup, picked up the certificate and looked at it again. I was wearing a whitish sweatshirt. Sneakers were glued. My hair was frizzy, and there was obvious sallow on my face caused by malnutrition. And then I looked at the 15 million on the certificate. He asked me if I was sure. I said yes. And he asked about the labor remuneration of 15 million. Tianhong Group. I said yes. Officer Zhao turned the certificate over, looked at the red seal on the front, picked up the phone on the table, and said, Director, there is a case here. Come and take a look. 3 minutes later, a man in his 50s with gray hair at his temples came over, and the badge read Lu Jiangwo, Deputy Director of the Qingdong branch. Officer Zhao handed him the certificate. Lu Jiangwo took it and looked at it for 10 seconds, and then asked me, your name is Lin Chen. I said right. He asked me how old I was this year. I said 23. Asked me what job I do. I said I didn't have a job. I graduated in June last year. and I haven't found it yet. Lu Jiangwo asked again. There is no job, but the tax bureau said that you earn 15 million a year. I was right. And he asked me again that I had already paid the 350,000 tax. I said that I just paid. Borrowed usury. Lu Jiangwo put down the certificate, glanced at Officer Zhao, and said to adjust his bank statement. Officer Zhao nodded, operated on the computer for a while, and the screen displayed the transaction records of all the bank accounts in my name, except for today's loan of 350,000 yuan in and out. The turnover in the first half of the year was particularly shabby. On February 3rd, I spent 1.50 yuan to buy steamed buns. On February 4th, I spent 2 yuan to buy mineral water. On February 5th, I spent 2.90 yuan to buy instant noodles. On January 28th, I earned 50 yuan. Remarks to sell teaching materials. And on January 15th, I earned 200 yuan. Remarks my mother turned. Flipped forward. The largest income was in August last year. My mother transferred me 1,000 yuan. Not to mention 15 million. Not even 1,500 yuan was visible. Lu Jiangwo stared at the screen for a long time, saying that this person's turnover was indeed not like someone with an income of more than 10 million. Officer Zhao leaned over to take a look and asked if his identity information had been stolen. Lu Jiangwo said it was possible, and then turned to me and asked me if I had lost my ID card or lent it to someone else. I thought about it. When I was in my junior year, I did lose my ID card once, and I didn't care much about it, so I said that I lost it. I lost it in the cafeteria in the first semester of my junior year, and then I made it up. Lu Jiangwo asked me when I lost it. Do you remember the specific date? I said it was probably the end of September of the previous year. Lu Jiangwo and Officer Zhao exchanged glances. Officer Zhao said that from September of the previous year to December last year, it just covered the declaration period of this income. Lu Jiangwo nodded, said that he would file a case first, and then picked up a pen and wrote a few lines on a form, and said to Officer Zhao, contact Tianhong Group, retrieve the payment record of this labor remuneration, collect the collection account, sign the contract, and all relevant materials, all wanted. And Officer Zhao said okay. Lu Jiangwo turned to me again and said, Lin Chen, you go back and wait for the notice first. The case will be investigated, but it will take time. Let me leave a phone number. I reported the number. When I walked out of the gate of the Public Security Bureau, it was already dark. And in February, the wind blew from the sea, with salty taste and ice ballast, and I stood on the steps, my hands in my pockets, and there were two things in my pockets: a tax payment certificate proving my annual income of 10 million, and a mobile phone with a balance of 0. Is it ridiculous? I think it's ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous is that from today onwards, I still owe 350,000 loan sharks with a monthly interest of 6 cents. That is, my monthly interest is 21,000 yuan. And the last time I ate meat was 23 days ago. I took a deep breath, lifted my feet and walked down the steps. No matter what, at least one thing is certain. I, Lin Chen, have an income of 15 million under my name. Either return the money to me, or tell me where the money went. Someone must give me an explanation. Early the next morning, I received a call from Officer Zhao, saying that Lin Chen, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, you will come to the Qingdong branch, and Tianhong Group will reply. When I arrived, Officer Zhao was rummaging through a stack of materials, asked me to sit down, and then said that the administrative department of Tianhong Group replied. They said that they signed an external consulting contract with me, and the labor remuneration was paid quarterly, totaling 15 million in 4 quarters, and the payment was made to a bank card in my name. I quickly asked, the bank card in my name? Officer Zhao said yes. The account bank is Binhai Commercial Bank. The account name is me, and the ID number is also mine. I was just about to say something. Officer Zhao asked me to wait for him to finish. He turned the page again, saying that this card was opened in January last year, and the account was opened at the Nanjing branch of Binhai Commercial Bank, and then asked me if I was in Binhai in January last year. I shook my head and said no. I was still in school in January last year, in Jiangbei province, and the final exam was not over yet. Officer Zhao said, well, he checked my mobile phone location records. I was indeed in Jiangbei in January last year. This account opening time was not right, and then pushed the page in front of me. On it was a copy of the bank account opening application form. The name was mine. The ID number was mine. But the signature, I could see at a glance that it was not mine. When I wrote the word Lin, the last stroke was picked to the right, which is the habit of writing since childhood. But the Lin on this signature, the last stroke is flat. Officer Zhao nodded and said that the signature was not mine. He compared the signature on my registration form today. There was indeed a significant difference, and the next step would be to send it for handwriting appraisal. I asked about the money in this card, and Officer Zhao said that this is the point. From the opening of the account in January last year to the end of December last year, a total of 4 payments were received, namely 3.5 million, 4 million, 3.5 million, and 4 million, totaling 15 million. I quickly asked where I had transferred, and Officer Zhao said that I had transferred to 6 different personal accounts, and the account name was not mine. I grabbed the armrest of the chair and asked what the account names of those accounts were, and Officer Zhao hesitated for a moment, saying that it was still being verified and it was not convenient to disclose it for the time being. But there was a piece of information that could tell me that one of the 6 accounts had an account holder who graduated from the same university as me. I buzzed in my head and asked who it was. And Officer Zhao said, "Do you have a classmate named Zhou Ming?" Zhou Ming, my roommate for 4 years in college, went to the upper bunk, and when he graduated, he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Brother Chin, come to me if you can't get along in Binhai in the future." Tianhong Group. My uncle arranged it for me, and I was envious of him at the time. I quickly said that Zhou Ming was my roommate, a roommate from 4 years of college, and lived in the same dormitory. Officer Zhao nodded and asked me if he knew when I lost my ID card. I recalled it for a few seconds and said that he knew, and he accompanied me to reissue it. Officer Zhao made a note in his notebook and asked him if he was working at Tianhong Group now. I said that he went to Tianhong when he graduated, and then we didn't have much contact, and I couldn't find a job smoothly, so I was embarrassed to look for him. Officer Zhao asked me if I had his contact information again. I said there was WeChat, and he asked when was the last contact. I looked through the chat records and said that it was October last year. He sent me a message. "Brother Chin, how are you doing?" I replied that I was still looking for a job, and he said come on. And then there was no. Officer Zhao closed the book and said okay, let me go back first, and then they will contact Zhou Ming, and they will also contact Tianhong Group for further investigation, and I will be notified of any progress in the case. I stood up, walked to the door and stopped again, and asked Officer Zhao if this matter was really done by Zhou Ming. He is now in the Tianhong Group, and there is a relationship with his connections. Can you find out? Officer Zhao looked at me and said that I am a policeman. These 3 words are not much, but enough. I walked out of the branch, stood on the side of the road. My mind was full of Zhou Ming. When I first entered the school in my freshman year, he helped me carry my luggage from downstairs to the 6th floor. In the winter of my sophomore year, he borrowed me a down jacket. At the end of my junior year, I helped him pass the high number. But he used my ID card to open a bank card and received 15 million. I opened WeChat and found Zhou Ming's avatar. The avatar is a white Porsche Cayenne, parked in the underground garage of a high-rise apartment, the latest one in the circle of friends, posted 3 days ago. The photo is a table of dishes, the kind of private restaurant, exquisite plating, next to a bottle of Matai, with the text reading, "Thank you for having a noble person to guide you along the way." That I typed a line on my phone. Zhou Ming, long time no see, what have you been busy with lately? After sending it, it shows read in a minute, but he didn't reply. On the 3rd day, Officer Zhao called me again and said, "Lin Chin, the situation has changed. You should come." When I arrived at the Qingdong branch, in addition to Officer Zhao, Lu Jiangwo was also there, and the expressions of both of them were not very good looking. I asked what was wrong, and Lu Jiangwo motioned for me to sit down, saying that they had contacted the administrative department of Tianhong Group and asked to retrieve the original copy of my external consulting contract. I asked what the audit meant, and Officer Zhao took over, saying that they didn't want to give it, and they sent a formal withdrawal letter. But the legal department of Tianhong Group directly replied with a lawyer's letter, saying that it involved trade secrets and needed to go through the court's retrieval procedures. Lu Jiangwo said that they were wasting time, and not just delaying time. He took out a piece of paper and said that this morning, they went to Zhou Ming to make a record. Others were not in Binhai, and the company said that he was on a business trip and went to Shenzhen. I asked about business trips. Lu Jiangwo said that this was what his company said, but they checked his mobile phone signal, and the last location was at Binhai Airport, yesterday afternoon flight. I asked him if he ran away. Lu Jiangwo said that he didn't necessarily run away, but the timing was very coincidental, and then he looked at me and asked, "Did you send him a message yesterday?" I said I sent it. He had read it and didn't reply, and Lu Jiangwo said that he might be alert. I clenched my fists and asked what to do now. Lu Jiangwo raised 2 fingers and said 2 ways. First, they continued to follow the public security investigation process, but Tianhong Group had a legal team to block it, and the progress would be slower. Second, let me go to Tianhong Group by myself, and ask to see the contract in my personal capacity, saying that I am a party to the contract, and I legally have the right to see the contract I have signed. Of course, I haven't signed it, but they don't know if I know. I asked him what he meant by letting me go tempting. Lu Jiangwo was right. Let me ask. See their reaction. Sometimes, the appearance of the parties itself is a kind of pressure. In the afternoon of the same day, I wore the only sweatshirt and stood at the door of the Tianhong Group building. The glass curtain wall on the 42nd floor, brightly lit in the afternoon sun, and the front desk in the lobby were 2 young women in professional clothes, asking me, "Hello, do you have an appointment?" I said no. "My name is Lin Chin. I am an external consultant of Tianhong Group. Let me check my contract." The 2 front desks looked at each other and said, "Sir, our group needs to make an appointment and a work card, and if you are an external partner, you need to have the confirmation of the docking person." I asked who my docking person was. They asked me which department consultant I was. I said I didn't know. Let them check in the system. Lin Chin, ID number 330XXXXXXXXXX. The front desk knocked on the computer for a while. His expression changed, saying, "Sir, please wait a moment. I will help you contact." Then picked up the phone, said a few words in a low voice, and after putting down the phone, his attitude was a little more polite than just now, saying, "Mr. Lin, our colleagues from the administrative department will come down to pick you up immediately. Please wait in the rest area." I sat on the sofa in the lobby and waited for about 10 minutes. The elevator door opened, and a man in a gray suit, about 45 years old, with meticulously combed hair and an omega on his left wrist, asked me, "Mr. Lin." Then he stretched out his hand to me and said that he was Chen Ziyuan, Deputy General Manager of the Administrative Department of Tianhong Group. I shook his hand. Very dry. He said, "Mr. Lin, please come with me." We went upstairs to talk, and then took me up to the 18th floor, through a carpeted corridor, into a small conference room. After the door closed, he asked me to sit down, and poured me a glass of water, asking me if I came today to understand the contract. I was right. When I checked the tax, I found that your Tianhong Group paid me 15 million in labor remuneration, but I didn't know anything about this contract. Chen Ziyuan's expression did not change, saying that, "Mr. Lin, you are our external consultant, and the contract was signed in January last year, which you should be clear about." I said, "I don't know. I haven't signed any contracts." He said, "Yes. Then pull a document from your pocket and say it's a copy of the contract. Show me and say it's not my signature." He pushed the contract over. I turned to the last page, and on the signature column, the word Lin Chen was written neatly, but the last stroke of the word Lin was flat, and I said it was not my word. He said no. Then he leaned on the back of the chair and said that he might need to do a handwriting appraisal, but the contract was legally valid until the appraisal results came out. I say the contract is valid. Well, the 15 million written in the contract went into an account opened with my ID card, but I didn't receive a penny. Chen Ziyuan didn't answer this question, picked up the water glass and took a sip, saying, "Mr. Lin, he understands my confusion, but as far as he knows, this labor remuneration is issued normally after being approved by their finance department and reviewed by the legal department." I said I checked, and the card was not opened by me. He said I didn't drive it. If someone can use my ID card to open a card, does it mean that my identity information is not properly kept? He smiled when he said this, very lightly. I stared at him and said, "Mr. Chen, I have called the police now. The Binhai Public Security has filed a case and is investigating. Are you sure you want to talk to me like this?" His smile was gone, saying, "Mr. Lin, it is my right to call the police." They fully cooperated, but he still said that the contract is legal. The payment is normal. As for what went wrong in the middle link, it is not the responsibility of Tianhong Group that I asked who was responsible. Chen Ziyuan didn't answer, stood up and said, "Mr. Lin, let's talk about it here today. If I need a copy of the contract, he can ask someone to make a copy of it for me, and other questions. Suggest that I communicate with my lawyer before communicating." I said I didn't have a lawyer. He said that I would find one, and said that with my financial strength, hiring a good lawyer should not be a problem, and finally added, "After all, the annual salary is 15 million. When I walked out of the Tianhong Group building, I had an extra copy of the contract in my hand, 12 pages. Party A, Tianhong Group Company Limited. Party B, Lin Chen. The contract stipulated. Party B provides investment consulting services for Party A. The service period is from January 1st, X year to December 31st, X year, with a total remuneration of 15 million renminbi. And there is a copy of Party B's ID card in the attachment, which is indeed mine, and a copy of a bank card. I don't know the card number, and the account opening bank Binhai Commercial Bank Nanjing branch. I took this contract back to the Qingdong branch, and after reading it, Officer Zhao looked up and asked me, "Is the signature on this contract really not mine?" I said absolutely not. He asked me to write a few sample signatures to him. I wrote Lin Chen 10 times. Officer Zhao put the contract signature and my sample together. Even if he is not a professional, he can see the difference. He said that the difference is obvious, and he will send it for formal handwriting appraisal. And after the results come out, this is the ironclad evidence that I have not signed a contract. Then he said, in addition, the collection account I asked him to check has a new discovery, and 3 of the 6 personal accounts that have been transferred out have confirmed the account name. I hurriedly asked which 3, and he said that the first, Zhou Ming, my roommate, received 4 million. The second, Sun Leihua, was Zhou Ming's mother, received 2 million, and the third, Zhao Dejiang, the financial director of Tianhong Group, received 5 million. The financial director of Tianhong Group. No wonder Chen Ziyuan is so calm. No wonder Tianhong Group refuses to provide the original contract. This is not a simple identity theft. This is a systematic crime involving someone within Tianhong Group. I asked Zhao Dejiang if he received 5 million. Officer Zhao said yes. And this Zhao Dejiang is not only the financial director, but also the nephew of Zhao Guochang, chairman of Tianhong Group. I sat on the chair and didn't speak for a while. 15 million. Zhou Ming took 4 million. His mother took 2 million. Zhao Dejiang took 5 million. And 4 million went to 3 other unknown accounts. And I, nothing. Only 350,000 usury and 21,000 yuan a month in interest. I asked Officer Zhao what to do next, and he said that after the handwriting was identified, they would have enough basis to apply for a search warrant, and when the time came, all the bank statements of Zhou Ming and Zhao Dejiang would be frozen and withdrawn, and they would be investigated to the end. I asked how long it would take, and he said that the handwriting appraisal was fast in a week, and if it was slow, it was half a month. In half a month, my loan shark interest for a month is 20,000 yuan. Half a month is 10,000 and 500. I now only have 3 yuan and 7 cents on me, minus the 2 buses I took out today, and there are less than 2 yuan left. After leaving the substation, I didn't take the bus, walked back, 45 minutes away, through most of the east of the city. When I passed by a hot pot restaurant, it was steaming. I smelled the aroma of the bottom of the butter pot. My steps slowed down a beat, and then sped up again. Back in the rental house, a partition room of less than 10 square meters. The monthly rent is 500. Last month's rent is still owed. I sat on the bed, took out my mobile phone. There is a new message on WeChat. It was sent by Zhou Ming, saying, "Brother Chin, I heard that you are in Tianhong. Is there anything wrong?" Convenient words. Wasn't he on a business trip? Didn't he go to Shenzhen? How did he know that I went to Tianhong today? I stared at the message, thought for a long time, and then replied, "Okay." About the next afternoon, the coffee shop opposite the north gate of Binhai University, we often went to when we were in college. 2 cups of American, 12 yuan. AA system. 6 yuan per person. At that time I thought that 6 yuan coffee was already a luxury. Now think about it. Between 6 yuan of coffee and 15 million labor remuneration, there is about an ID card left. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Zhou Ming was already sitting in it. He had changed a lot. Zhou Ming in college, wearing a discounted t-shirt from Uniqlo like me, using a domestic mobile phone of 300 yuan, and now sitting opposite me, wearing a well-tailored dark blue shirt, wearing a Longines on his hand. The hairstyle was the one taken care of by the barbershop, and the complexion on his face was rosy, just like a year ago. He stood up, smiled at me, and said, "Brother Chin, I haven't seen you for a long time." I said for a long time, and then asked him, "Didn't you go to Shenzhen on a business trip?" He said well, he just came back yesterday, and he said that he heard the front desk say that I was in the company, so he thought there was something wrong and came back quickly. I said I thought you didn't want to see me, and he said how could it be? You are my best brother. Then he called the waiter, said 2 cups of American food, looked at me again, and said it's still the same. Right. I didn't speak. The coffee was served. Zhou Ming took a sip, put down the cup, tapped his fingers twice on the table, and asked me, "Brother Chin, what are you here for in Tianhong? Did you talk to Mr. Chen?" I said I had a chat. He asked what I was talking about, and I said I had a consulting contract for 15 million, and my name was written on the contract. Zhou Ming's fingers stopped for less than a second, asking what contract. I said that the external consulting contract of Tianhong Group, Party A Tianhong Group, Party B Lin Chin, labor remuneration of 15 million. Don't you know? He said how he knew that he was an administrative commissioner and what contracts the company's top management signed had to do with him. I said that the bank card for contract payment was opened with my ID card. He pretended to be surprised and said, "Your ID card also said Brother Chin. You won't be used as an identity, right?" I said I thought so too. He asked me if I had called the police again. I said I did. He said that it would be handed over to the police. Why did I come to the company? Isn't it good for professionals to investigate this kind of thing? I said I came because the 15 million collection account transferred out 6 sums of money, one of which was 4 million, to the account of Zhou Ming. There was light music playing in the coffee shop, a certain jazz music. Zhou Ming's eyes, when I said the word Zhou Ming, there was a very subtle change. Not surprise, not panic, but calculation. He was rapidly calculating what to say in the next sentence. Then he asked me, "Brother Chin, what do you mean? You doubt me?" I said I didn't say I doubted you. I said the truth. He said that I am sure that Zhou Ming is him. There are 1,000 of them in the whole coastal area called Zhou Ming. I said that the police had confirmed that the ID number matched. Zhou Ming picked up the coffee cup, found that his hand was shaking a little, and put it down again, saying, "Brother Chin, listen to me. Even if someone uses his account to collect money, it doesn't mean that he did it. Is it possible that someone also stole his identity?" I said your identity was also stolen. He said it was possible. My ID card was lost, and he might have been messed with. I asked him, "Did you call the police?" He paused for a moment, and I asked again, "Don't you find it strange that you suddenly have 4 million more in your account? Didn't call the police?" He opened his mouth. I said also, "Your mother's account also received 2 million. Sun Leihua, is it your mother?" Zhou Ming stopped talking. I continued, "At the end of September of my junior year, I lost my ID card in the cafeteria. You accompanied me to reissue it. That day you took my ID card, said help me make a copy of the record. I asked you to come back. You said you lost it, and then I reissued a new one, and this matter passed. Until this year. Until this annual salary report came to my head for no reason. I took out the tax certificate from my pocket and put it on the table. Zhou Ming looked at the certificate, motionless. After 20 or 30 seconds, he spoke. His voice changed, no longer the relaxed tone just now, and asked me, Brother Chin, what do you think? I said I wanted to know the truth. What the truth, he asked. I said what the hell was going on, who planned it, why I used my identity, and where the money ended up. He said I called the police and asked the police to investigate. I said I was asking you. He said I didn't know. I said you didn't know. 4 million went into your account. You don't know. 2 million went into your mother's account. You don't know. You just bought a Porsche Cayenne. You don't know where the money comes from. Zhou Ming stood up and said, Lin Chin, I am your brother, but you can't plant me like this. I said I didn't frame you. I gave you a chance to explain. He said he didn't need to explain. He has a clear conscience. Then he picked up the car keys on the table. The Porsche Shield logo was very bright in the light, and said that if I think he harmed me, then I will ask the police to come to him. He will cooperate at any time, but don't kidnap him with brotherhood. And when he said that, he turned around and left. And when he pushed the door, the cold wind came in and blew over the tissues on the table. I sat there and didn't move. 2 cups of American on the table. His cup barely moved. $12. He didn't pay. The same as in college. AA system. But he always forgot to give him that share. But now the amount has changed from 6 yuan to 4 million. I took out my phone and sent a message to Officer Zhao. I met Zhou Ming. He denies everything, but he knows the details, and he can judge from his reaction. Officer Zhao replied quickly. Received. Don't worry. The handwriting appraisal has been sent, and the results are estimated to be released in 5 to 7 working days. As soon as the appraisal report arrives, we will interview him. 5 to 7 working days. I looked at the calendar. The usury loan day is the 8th of this month, and now it is the 12th. That is to say, by the time the appraisal report comes out, my usury has generated at least 5,000 yuan in interest. 5,000 yuan, which is all my expenses in the past 3 months. That night, I suddenly received a strange call, and the other end of the phone asked me, Lin Chin. The voice was a little polite, so I asked him what was wrong, and he said, Hello, I am from the legal department of Tianhong Group. My surname is Fong. I asked directly, What's the matter? He said, Mr. Lin, that's right. We noticed that you recently reported a contract dispute case to the Public Security Bureau, and we attach great importance to it, and want to communicate with you and resolve it amicably. I asked again, What communication? Lawyer Fong paused for a moment and said, Mr. Lin, I will say it bluntly. Tianhong is a listed company. Any negative news will affect the stock price. We don't want to make a big deal. I sneered and asked, So what? He continued, So we are willing to give you a compensation. The amount you can mention, as long as it is within a reasonable range. In exchange, you withdraw the report and sign another confidentiality agreement. I became angry all of a sudden. Are you looking for me to have an affair? He also pretended to say, We are looking for a win-win solution. I directly replied, Win-win. You used my identity to sign a fake contract, fraudulently received 15 million, and made me carry 350,000 yuan in taxes. And now you want to spend some money to shut me up. This is called a win-win. He also wanted to defend. Mr. Lin, please pay attention to your words. Whether the contract is false or not, there is no conclusion yet. I interrupted him directly. The handwriting is identified and the conclusion is reached. The other end of the phone was silent for a while, and then began to persuade me again. Mr. Lin, I still suggest that you think about it. If you really start a lawsuit, it will not be good for anyone. Tianhong has time and resources to spend with you. But you, he paused, deliberately prolonging his tone. You seem to have a loan shark of 350,000 yuan, with a monthly interest rate of 6 cents. And if this interest goes on, I am afraid it will be more than the money for a lawsuit. That my hand holding the phone tightened all of a sudden. They even checked this. And I asked angrily, Are you threatening me? He also pretended to be innocent. I'm just helping you analyze the pros and cons. I gritted my teeth and said, Thank you for your analysis. I know the pros and cons myself. After saying that, he hung up the phone. After hanging up, my hands began to shake again. Not afraid, but angry. They stole my identity, stole my money, made me carry taxes and usury. And now they want to spend a little money to send me away. Why? I picked up my mobile phone, opened Weibo, registered a new account. The account was called Poor Egg with an annual salary of 10 million, and posted the first Weibo, fresh graduate, unemployed for a year. Bank card balance of 3.72 yuan. At the end of the year, I was told that my annual salary was 15 million and I had to pay 350,000 taxes. I borrowed usury, paid taxes, and called the police. Now, I need someone to tell me where did my 15 million go. I also attached a photo of the tax payment certificate, coded the identity information, and then clicked to send. After posting, I put down my phone. I didn't have any hope. After all, I have a new account with 0 fans. Who will read it? Unexpectedly, 3 hours later, I opened Weibo. And there were already more than 2,000 comments under that Weibo, more than 4,000 retweets, more than 10,000 likes, and 47th place in the hot search. And the topic unemployed graduates were inexplicably taxed 15 million. The number of views exceeded 5 million. The comment area exploded directly. And some people said, this is too outrageous. Right. What operation? Some people said, someone must have impersonated his identity. This is an identity theft case. And some people asked, Tianhong Group, can listed companies do this kind of thing? Some people sighed, thinking about it carefully. It's him today. Will it be me tomorrow? More encouragement me, saying, don't be afraid. The whole network will help you defend your rights. There are also people who directly several big versus and legal bloggers. One of the legal bloggers with tens of millions of followers retweeted my Weibo and commented, if this netizen is telling the truth, then this is no longer a simple tax issue. Identity theft, forgery of contracts, evasion of personal income taxes. These are suspected of at least 3 criminal offenses. It is recommended that the parties keep all evidence, including tax payment certificates, bank statements, and all communication records with Tianhong Group. In addition, have the tax authorities fulfilled their verification obligations? This retweet brought another wave of traffic, and by 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, the number of topic readings directly exceeded 20 million. And when I woke up the next morning, the topic was already in the 9th place in the hot search. My phone was bombarded with messages, all private messages from strangers. Some media reporters wanted to interview me. Some lawyers said they could help me represent me for free. And some victims of identity theft like me. And some scolded me for fraudulently rubbing traffic. Not long after, Officer Zhao also called me and asked, you posted on Weibo? I said yes. And he added, do you know that doing so may affect the investigation of the case? I said to him, Officer Zhao, Tianhong Group has already asked me for privacy. Their legal department called me and said that they wanted to give me compensation to shut me up. They even knew about my loan sharking, and I couldn't bear it alone. Officer Zhao was silent for a few seconds and said, okay. Then you should pay attention to your proportions. Don't post any unconfirmed information. Just say the facts. I said I knew. And he added, one more thing. On the handwriting appraisal side, the feedback may be delayed. I suddenly became anxious. Delay? Why? He said. The appraisal agency said that there have been many cases recently, and there are many people in line, which may take more than 2 weeks. For more than 2 weeks, in front of the interest on usury, every extra day is bleeding. But what I care more about is another thing. I asked, Officer Zhao, who is delaying the appraisal? Officer Zhao did not answer directly, but said, don't think too much about it. We have been advancing. After hanging up the phone, I sat on the bed in a daze. Someone deliberately delayed the appraisal. Tianhong's legal affairs asked me for privacy. And Zhou Ming ran to go on a business trip again. These 3 things came together. It was definitely not a coincidence. In the afternoon, I received a private message from a lawyer saying, hello, my name is Su Wei. I am a practicing lawyer, specializing in economic crime cases. Seeing your Weibo, I am particularly sympathetic to your experience. If you want, I can give you free legal advice. I am in Binhai. You can meet and talk if it is convenient. I flipped through her Weibo. It is from Binhai Neutral Law Firm, which has been practicing for 8 years. Has represented many economic dispute cases, and several successful cases have been on the local news. I hesitated for a few seconds, and made an appointment to meet at her firm the next day. Su Weiss law firm was in an office building in the city center. Not big, but very neat. She looked in her early 30s, tied in a ponytail, wearing a white shirt, and the documents on the table were neatly stacked, without unnecessary greetings. And as soon as they met, she asked me to sit down, and then said, you show me all the materials. I spread the tax payment certificate, the copy of the contract, the screenshot of the bank statement, the call record with Officer Zhao, and the recording of the phone call from Tianhong Legal Affairs all on the table. She looked at them one by one, looked at them for more than 20 minutes, didn't say a word, and after reading them, she looked up and said to me, you did a very smart thing. I asked what it was, and she picked up the tax payment certificate and said, ask for a certificate before paying taxes. This paper is the cornerstone of the whole case. Without this, even if you call the police, you just say there is no income. They say there is income. No one can prove anyone. But with this, the tax bureau officially confirmed that you have an income of 15,350,000 in taxes. Black and white and a red seal. Either the money really exists, that is, someone stole your money. Either the money does not exist, that is, someone falsifies declaration records to defraud state taxes. In either case, it is a criminal offense. But she changed her mind and said, but you also did a very risky thing. I asked what it was, and she said, borrow usury to pay taxes. The monthly interest is 6 cents. The annualized rate is 72. The principal of 350,000 yuan. If you can't pay it back in a year, the money you have to repay may double after the profit rolls. She nodded and said, the consequences of being on the list of dishonesty are indeed serious. Your judgment is right, but there is a problem with the enforcement method. You should find a lawyer first and then pay taxes. Not pay taxes first and then find a lawyer. I was a little embarrassed and said, I didn't know I could find a lawyer at the time. She smiled and said, so you came to me. Then she opened her notebook and analyzed the current situation with me. Now that the public security has filed a case, the handwriting appraisal is in progress but has been delayed. Tianhong Group wants to be private. Your Weibo is on the hot search. Public opinion is favorable to you, but it may also be bidden back by the other party. I asked her what she should do, and she raised 3 fingers and said, 3 steps. First, urge the handwriting appraisal. If the appraisal agency is pressured and delayed, we can apply for a change of appraisal agency, or entrust a third party to do parallel appraisal, and I will pay the cost. Second, fixed evidence. Your bank card opened by fraudulent identity. There must be monitoring when opening an account. Bank monitoring is generally kept for half a year to a year. Now it is too late to check, and it will be gone if you delay it. Third, put legal pressure on Tianhong Group. They are looking for you privately, which means that they are panicking. I will officially send a lawyer's letter to Tianhong, asking them to provide the original contract, payment approval process, and Zhao Dijiang's responsibility explanation within 15 working days. If you refuse, we will directly file a civil lawsuit and ask them to compensate you for all losses including 350,000 taxes, usury interest, moral damages, and reputational losses during the theft of your identity. The total amount will not be less than 5 million. I looked at her, a little incredulous, and asked, are you sure? Do you know the origin of Tianhong Group? Zhao Dijiang is the nephew of the chairman. She closed her notebook and said, I know, but in front of the law, relatives are not an exoneration card, and your case is now attracted to the whole network, and the more they press it, the more passive they become. And public opinion is your greatest weapon. Coming out of Sue Weiss law firm, I feel that something is different in my body. Not that I suddenly have confidence, but that I finally have a direction. Over the past year, I have been like a paper boat spinning in the water. My resume was rejected. I was rejected again and again. I ate noodles every day, counting the single-digit balance in my bank card. But now it's different. There are 15 million in my name. Either pay me back my money or return my innocence. I want both. When I returned to the rental house, the landlord's sister Wang called and asked, Lin Chen, you haven't paid your rent last month. When will you give it? I hurriedly said, Sister Wang, can you give me a few days of grace? Recently, I was interrupted by her before she finished speaking. You said the same last time. My house is not a charity. If you don't pay it, I will take over the house before the end of the month. After saying that, he hung up the phone. I looked at the phone screen and saw 3 unread messages. One from a debt collection company, reminding me that the first month's interest of 21,000 yuan would expire on the 8th of next month. One was sent by Su Wei, asking me to bring the original ID card and 1-inch photo tomorrow, and she wanted to prepare the case materials. There is also one posted by Zhou Ming half an hour ago, which reads, Brother Chin, I have thought clearly. Let's talk about it. See you at the old place tomorrow night. I stared at this message, and he finally wanted to talk. Was it because of the hot search on Weibo, or the pressure of the police, or something else? I replied with 2 words. What time? He replied, 8 o'clock in the evening. I said, okay. The next day, during the day, I went to Su Wei first, and after handing her the materials, she handed me a printed document and said, this is a lawyer's letter I just wrote, and they sent it to Tianhong Group this afternoon. You can take a look. I took it and glanced at it, using particularly restrained words, but every sentence carried a real legal threat, which read, to Tianhong Group Company, Ltd. This lawyer was entrusted by the client Mr. Lin Chen to formally submit the following requirements to your company on the matter of your company fraudulently using the client's identity information to sign false consulting contracts and fraudulently receive labor remuneration. 1. Provide the original contract and all approval process documents within 15 working days. 2. Provide payment vouchers and internal approval records for 15 million labor remuneration. 3. Reasonable explanation for the receipt of 5 million by Mr. Zhao Dijiang, the company's financial director. 4. If the reply is not completed within the above time limit, the lawyer will file a civil lawsuit with the Binhai Intermediate People's Court on behalf of the client, and report your company to the China Securities Regulatory Commission for suspected financial fraud. The claim amount is tentatively set at 5 renminbi million. I pointed to the 3 words China Securities Regulatory Commission and asked her, is this also? She smiled and said, Tianhong is a listed company, using false contracts to transfer funds, suspected of financial fraud. If verified by the China Securities Regulatory Commission, fined at best, delisted at worst. This is what they fear most. The lawyer's letter itself is not enforceable, but for listed companies, the real fear is not the court, but the China Securities Regulatory Commission and the stock price. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I came out of the law firm and went directly to the coffee shop where I had made an appointment with Zhou Mingwei 3 hours in advance. and I wanted to go through all the things I wanted to say in my head before he came. At 7:40, the coffee shop began to be full, and at 7:55, Zhou Ming pushed the door in. Unlike before, he was not wearing a shirt. He was wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, and his hat was pulled to the top of his head, as if he didn't want to be recognized. He sat down opposite me and was silent for about 10 seconds before calling me, "Brother Chin." I said, And he asked, "Did you post that thing on Weibo?" I said yes. And he added, "Do you know how big this will be?" I sneered. "I'm not afraid of big things. I only have 3 yuan in my bank card. What am I afraid of?" He was anxious. "You are not afraid, but I am afraid." He rested his hands on the table, his fingers crossed, and his knuckles turned white. "Brother Chin, this matter is not as simple as you think," I said. "Then tell me how complicated it is." Zhou Ming glanced at the door, then looked out the window, and then lowered his voice and said, "That contract is not my idea. It was Xiao Dejiang who found me. He said that he needed an outside identity to take a consulting fee. Let me help find a clean person without any records." I looked at him. "Then you thought of me." He paused, closed his eyes and said, "Brother Chin, I just joined the company at that time. The probationary period has not yet passed. Xiao Dejiang is the CFO. He can decide whether I can stay or not in one sentence. He told me that it is just a financial operation. No one will check." I scolded him. "No one will investigate. The tax side found me directly." He argued, "That's because the policy changed at the end of last year, and the individual tax settlement began to be fully implemented." I asked, "So he has done this kind of thing before?" Zhou Ming stopped talking, and I asked again, "Zhou Ming, you answer me. Has Xiao Dejiang done the same operation with someone else's identity before?" After a long silence, he whispered, "Yes." I asked again, "How many times?" He said, "I don't know the exact number, but I have heard his men mention at least 4 or 5. 4 or 5. That is to say, there may be 4 or 5 people like me who have been stolen from their identities and have inexplicably become invisible rich people with an annual salary of tens of millions." I asked again, "What is the current situation of those people?" He said, "I don't know. Most of them should not have found out. When there was no final settlement before, the tax was withheld and paid by the company, and the individual could not see the details at all." I stared at him. "Are you using the ID card I lost?" He hesitated for a moment, said yes, and I said, "In my junior year, you said you would help me make a copy, and then you said you lost it. In fact, you left a copy, and later Xiao Dejiang asked for identity information, so you gave mine to him, right?" He didn't deny it. I looked at him. He didn't avoid my gaze, but there was no guilt in his eyes, only fear. I understood that he didn't come to me because he was sorry for me. He was afraid of me. I said directly, "You took 4 million. He immediately defended, "That's not what I took." I interrupted him. "Zhou Ming, your bank card received 4 million. Your mother's card received 2 million. You drive a Porsche Cayenne, and the circle of friends posts Matai. Don't say this kind of thing in front of me." His face turned red all of a sudden, and he wanted to defend. "That was Xiao Dejiang who asked me to post the account, not for me." I scolded back again. "Posted. Porsche and the circle of friends is also posted." He stopped talking. I took a deep breath and my voice calmed down. "Zhou Ming, I don't want to quarrel with you. You are my roommate for 4 years. I have helped you live a high number. I lent you my quilt to cover in winter. I only ask you one thing. You came to me today to talk. Is it your own intention, or did Xiao Dejiang let you come?" His Adam's apple moved, and he said, "Xiao Dejiang asked me to persuade you to withdraw the case." I asked, "What about the conditions?" He said he could pay 500,000 yuan to let you withdraw the case, delete Weibo, and sign another confidentiality agreement. 500,000. They stole my identity of 15 million and made me carry 350,000 taxes and usury, and now they want to send me away with 500,000. I looked at him and asked, "Do you think I will agree?" He was anxious. "Brother Chin, listen to me. Xiao Dejiang's uncle is the chairman of Tianhong, and you can't afford to fight him." I asked, "Are you threatening me?" He shouted, "I'm saving you." "Brother Chin, you don't know who Xiao Dejiang is. He has been working in Tianhong for more than 10 years. And the resources in his hands are not what you can imagine. Do you think you can bring him down by posting a Weibo? Do you think you can find a lawyer to fight a lawsuit with Tianhong? What are you fighting? You can't even pay the rent." This sentence is like a knife, not because it hurts, because it is true, but the truth does not mean right. I stood up, looked at him and said, "Zhou Ming, let me tell you something. I really can't even pay the rent, but you miscalculated one thing. I'm not fighting with Xiao Dejiang. I'm asking for what belongs to me. You made 15 million in my name. Let me carry 350,000 taxes. I am now in debt of hundreds of thousands, and the daily interest is more than my living expenses in a month. You asked me to shut up with 500,000 yuan. The price of my life is more than 500,000. After saying that, I walked out of the coffee shop, and behind me, Zhou Ming didn't chase me out. In fact, from the moment he sat down, my mobile phone was recording the sound in my pocket, and every word of the entire conversation was recorded. Xiao Dejiang asked him to persuade me to withdraw the case. Xiao Dejiang had done the same thing before. Zhao Dejiang asked him to use my ID card to open the card. These words, all in it, back at the rental house. I sent the recording file to Su Wei, and she replied with 4 words. Enough. Come on. The next morning, Su Wei took the recording file and all the previous evidence to the Qingdong branch, where Officer Zhao and Director Lu Jiangwo were there, and the recording was played from beginning to end, including the part where Zhou Ming personally admitted that Zhao Dejiang was the mastermind. After hearing this, Director Lu Jiangwo pushed his chair back and asked Su Wei, "Can this recording be used as evidence?" Su Wei replied, "Lin Chen recorded as a participant in the conversation, not eavesdropping or secretly filming. It is a self-recorded audio-visual material, according to the relevant provisions of the Civil Procedure Law and the Criminal Procedure Law. As long as it does not violate the prohibited provisions of the law and does not infringe on the legitimate rights and interests of others, it can be used as evidence. Moreover, the core value of this recording is not whether it can be directly convicted, but that it provides a breakthrough direction for the case." Zhou Ming admits that Zhao Dejiang is the mastermind, admits that there have been similar operations before, and admits that the ID card was provided by him, which are clues that can be further verified. Director Lu Jiangwo pondered for a moment and said, "But the handwriting appraisal has not come out yet." Su Wei took out a document and pushed it in front of him. "Director, you can apply for expedited. This is the account opening monitoring I went to the Nanjing branch of Binhai Commercial Bank this morning to retrieve. The bank's monitoring retention period is 180 days, and it will expire in another week. I have retrieved the surveillance screenshots, and on the day of opening the account, the person who went to the bank counter to handle the card opening business was not Lin Chen." Director Lu Jiangwo asked, "Who is it?" Su Wei said, "The surveillance picture is relatively blurry, but it can be seen that it is a man in his 20s, and his body shape matches Zhou Ming. And I suggest that Zhou Ming be officially identified." Director Lu Jiangwo picked up the surveillance screenshot and looked at it. The picture was indeed not clear, but he could see a young man wearing a dark coat, sitting in front of the counter window, holding an ID card in his hand. Then he said to Officer Zhao Jianjun, "Contact the handwriting appraisal agency, apply for expedited, and at the same time, prepare for the summons procedures for Zhou Ming." Officer Zhao responded, and Director Lu Jiangwo added, "Also, contact Binhai Commercial Bank to freeze all transaction records and related information of that card." When I walked out of the branch, Su Wei glanced at me and asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "It's okay." She asked again, "What do you plan to do with usury?" I said, "Carry it first, and wait for the case to come out." She asked again, "How much money do you have in your hand now?" I said, "It's less than 2 yuan." Su Wei was silent for a moment and said, "I will lend you 5,000 first. No interest. When will I pay it back?" I was a little embarrassed. "Lawyer Su," she interrupted me, "if you starve to death, there will be no party to my case." She didn't smile when she said this. Her tone was flat. I still took the 5,000 yuan, not because face is worthless, but because life is more important than face. On the 3rd day after the application for expedited handwriting appraisal, the results came out, and Officer Zhao called me directly. "Lin Chen, the appraisal report is out." I asked nervously, "What is the conclusion?" He said, "The signature on the contract is not written by you, and the appraisal opinion is that there is a significant difference in the writing habits of the sample, and it is not written by the same person." I clenched my phone, and a stone fell to the ground in my heart. The contract of 15 million. The signature was not mine, black and white, and the seal of the Forensic Appraisal Agency, which meant that the contract was forged. I asked again, "Officer Zhao, what's next?" He said, "The next thing is left to us. This afternoon, we issued a summons notice to Zhou Ming, and at the same time, we have applied to the Procuratorate for an investigation order against Zhao Dejiang." I asked in surprise, "Zhao Dejiang, are you going to move him?" He said, "As soon as the appraisal report came out, the nature of the case changed. No longer a simple identity fraud, but forged contracts, fictitious transactions, and fraudulent public funds, which is a particularly huge amount of job-related crimes." I asked again, "Where is Tianhong Group?" He said, "The attitude of Tianhong Group has also changed, and their legal department took the initiative to contact us this morning and said that they were willing to fully cooperate with the investigation." I was stunned for a moment. Fully cooperating. Yesterday he refused to provide the original contract, and today he changed his mind. I asked, "Is it because Lawyer Su's lawyer's letter mentions the China Securities Regulatory Commission?" Officer Zhao paused on the other end of the phone for a second and said, "There may be this reason. Today the China Securities Regulatory Commission also sent an inquiry letter to Tianhong Group, asking them to make a written explanation on the recent public opinion events, and Tianhong's stock price fell by 4 points today. 4 points. Tianhong's market value is more than 20 billion. 4 points are more than 800 million. Compared to the evaporation of the market value of 800 million. Cooperating with the investigation and handing over Zhao Dejiang, it is obviously more cost-effective, and the abacus of capital will always be calculated faster than anyone else." At 3 o'clock in the afternoon of the same day, Zhou Ming was taken to the Qingdong branch, not voluntarily, After the summons notice was issued in the morning, he did not show up. Officer Zhao directly took people to his residence, a hardcover apartment in the east of Binhai City. 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. The decoration is not bad. Zhou Ming is at home. Did not run. Not want to run. Is not able to run. His identity on the Weibo hot search has been almost picked up by netizens. Although there is no official report of his name by the media. But the former roommate and the annual salary of tens of millions of poor egg cases has become the focus of heated discussions on the whole network. He sat in the interrogation room for 4 hours, and Officer Zhao later told me that at first he denied it, saying that he was just instructed by others, and Zhao Dejiang coerced him, saying that he was also a victim. But when Officer Zhao played the recording I recorded, especially when he said I didn't take it and Zhao Dejiang asked me to persuade you to withdraw the case when the 2 sentences were broadcast. His face turned completely white, and he knew that he had admitted all the key facts in the recording, and then began to explain intermittently. And the more detailed he spoke. Zhao Dejiang has worked in Tianhong Group for 15 years, from ordinary accounting all the way to CFO. His uncle Zhao Guochang is the chairman, giving him great authority. Since 5 years ago, he has used the name of external consulting fee to fabricate contracts and arbitrage funds from the company. The operation method is very simple. Use other people's identity information to register as an external consultant. Sign a false labor contract. The company puts the money to the bank card opened in the name of these people, and then transfers the money out and distributes it to the account of Zhao Dejiang and the helper. In the past 5 years, Zhao Dejiang has used at least 7 people to do this kind of operation. And I am the 7th and the largest one among the first 6 people. Some of them were identity information he bought through the black market, some of which he asked the people below to collect from various channels. Zhou Ming was the confidant he pulled out 2 years ago, responsible for finding people, opening accounts, signing contracts, transferring money. As a reward, Zhao Dejiang gave him a share. My 15 million miles. Zhao Dejiang took 5 million. Zhou Ming took 4 million, plus the 2 million transferred to his mother for a total of 6 million. And the remaining 4 million was given to the other 3 people who helped with the account. Officer Zhao asked Zhou Ming, how many sets have you set in the past 5 years? Zhou Ming said, I know, there are about 70 million. 70 million. The CFO of a listed company, in 5 years, used false contracts to take 70 million from the company, and his price was just a few other people's ID cards and a subordinate who was willing to help him run errands. After Zhou Ming finished his confession, he was criminally detained that night on charges of forging company and enterprise seals, fraud accomplice, and stealing identity documents. The next day, Officer Zhao led the team to Tianhong Group. Zhao Dejiang was not in the office. The company said that he took leave in the morning. On the grounds of feeling unwell, Officer Zhao went directly to his house. Zhao Dejiang lived in one of the most expensive communities in Binhai Bihai Bay Garden, a duplex building of more than 300 square meters. The balcony could see the sea. When he found him, he was packing his luggage. 2 large boxes, one full of clothes, the other full of documents. Officer Zhao stood at the door, showed his ID and said, Zhao Dejiang, I am Zhao Jianjun from the Qingdong branch of the Binhai Municipal Public Security Bureau. This is my ID. Please cooperate with our investigation. Zhao Dejiang looked at the document in Officer Zhao's hand, then at the box in his hand, smiled and said, I've been waiting for you for a long time. This sounds quite stylish, the same as the lines in the TV series. But Officer Zhao later told me that his legs were soft when he was taken away. The news of Zhao Dejiang's detention spread on the same day. First of all, the internal explosion of Tianhong Group. The detention of the chief financial officer means that the company's accounts must be fully investigated. Then there is the stock market. Tianhong Group's shares fell directly at the opening of the next day, and the market value evaporated by more than 2 billion yuan in one day. Then there is the media. The news that the CFO of a listed company was detained for fictitious contracts to obtain 70 million occupied the headlines of major local media. And I, the pauper with an annual salary of tens of millions, has also changed from a Weibo ID to a well-known news party. The reporter began to contact me frantically. Su Wei helped me block most of it, and only accepted written interviews from 2 regular media. The interview draft was very restrained, only stating the facts, without any emotion, and did not disclose the specific details of the case. But on the internet, everyone sees more than facts. What they see is a college student who has just graduated, with only 3 yuan and 7 cents in his bank card, who was stolen to become a multi-millionaire, and was forced to borrow usury to pay taxes. Every detail of this story accurately hits the pain points of ordinary people: the difficulty of employment for fresh graduates, the security of identity information, the wanton behavior of the powerful, and the scolding in the comment area is overwhelming. But it is not scolding me, it is scolding Zhao Dejiang, scolding Tianhong Group, scolding the staff who rolled their eyes at me in the tax hall, scolded the onlookers for laughing at my face for pretending to be poor. On the 3rd day after Zhao Dejiang was detained, the Procuratorate officially approved the arrest, and on the same day, Tianhong Group issued an announcement: dismissal of all positions of Zhao Dejiang. The company will fully cooperate with the investigation of the judicial organs, and conduct a comprehensive audit of the internal financial system. Tianhong stock price began to stop falling after falling for 2 days. And the reaction of the capital market was very subtle. They didn't care about justice or injustice. They only cared about whether Tianhong cut out the problem. Cut out. The stock price was stable. Zhao Dejiang was just a chess piece. Tianhong Group was a chessboard. And it didn't matter if the chessboard was overturned. Just throw the chess pieces out. But for me, there is one more thing that has not been solved. The 350,000 taxes I paid with usury, plus interest, have now become 371,000 yuan. Su Wei took the tax payment certificate and handwriting appraisal report and went to the Binhai Municipal Taxation Bureau. Still the same hall last time. The numbering machine. Or the counter. But this time, she did not queue up and directly found the duty director. The same Director Zhang who persuaded me to read your first offense last time. Su Wei put the certificate and appraisal report in front of him and said, Director Zhang, this is the tax payment certificate of 350,000 yuan paid by my client, Mr. Lin Chen, in your bureau last month, which is a handwriting appraisal report issued by the Judicial Appraisal Agency. And the conclusion is that the signature on the labor contract between Tianhong Group and Mr. Lin Chen is forged. In other words, Mr. Lin Chen has never signed any contract with Tianhong Group and has never received any labor remuneration. And the 350,000 yuan tax levied by your bureau based on false declaration information should be fully refunded in accordance with the law. Director Zhang picked up the report and looked at it, with a complicated expression on his face, and said, you need to go through the process. Su Wei's voice was not high, but every word was very powerful. Director Zhang, last time Mr. Lin Chen came, you said the system will not make mistakes, said paying taxes is a civic duty, and said if you refuse to pay, you will be on the list of dishonesty. An unemployed college student whose identity information was stolen was forced by you to borrow usury to pay 350,000 yuan. And now the evidence proves that this tax should not exist from the beginning. How long do you plan to return the money to him? Director Zhang moved his lips and said, Lawyer Su, I understand your feelings. Su Wei interrupted him. I don't need you to understand my feelings. I need you to refund the money. Director Zhang said again. On the process, Su Wei replied. Process. When collecting money, it will be collected in 1 day. And the refund still has to go through the process. At this time, the crowd in the hall began to notice the movement here. And someone recognized Su Wei. She was not unknown in the legal circles of Binhai. Su Wei stretched out 2 fingers and said to Director Zhang, Director Zhang, you have 2 choices. First, refund all taxes within 3 working days, and compensate my client for all losses incurred as a result including usury interest. Second, I will submit the complete process of this matter including how you persuaded an unemployed college student with a bank card balance of 3 yuan and 7 cents and 2 yuan that day to borrow usury to pay taxes to the Binhai Municipal Discipline Inspection and Supervision Department and the Stat. Administration of Taxation, and choose. 3 days later, the 350,000 yuan was returned the same way, accompanied by a written apology letter issued by the Binhai Municipal Taxation Bureau, which read, after verification, the 15 million yuan of labor remuneration income involved in the taxpayer Mr. Lin Chen's annual individual tax settlement was falsely declared by a third party, not the real income of the taxpayer himself. Our bureau has fully refunded the relevant tax of 350,000 yuan. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to taxpayers. On the day I got the apology letter, I went to pay off the loan shark, with a principal of 350,000 yuan, plus more than a month's interest of 21,000 yuan, a total of 371,000. The tax refund was 350,000 yuan. And there was still a difference of 21,000 yuan. Su Wei borrowed me 5,000 yuan before. And when you count this, you are still short of 16,000 yuan. I put this number in front of Su Wei and said to her, 10,006. You help me think of a way. Su Wei handed me the phone directly. Don't think about it. Look at your Weibo private message. I opened a private message, and the latest one was sent by a certified ID, called Binhai Radio and Television Minqing Channel, and the content was, Mr. Lin Chen. Hello, we are reporters from Binhai Radio and Television Minqing Channel, and we would like to make an in-depth report on your experience. If you are willing to be interviewed, we will pay you a fee for the interview. The cost is 20,000 yuan. I glanced at Su Wei and said simply, pick up. Su Wei turned out a few more private messages. Accept others. These self-media interviews invite you to screen. The price is reasonable. The platform is formal. You can do it. You speak out legally and solve economic problems. By the way, within 3 days, I received an exclusive interview with Binhai TV, as well as written interviews with 2 regular media, and got a total of 40,000 and 20,000 people. I paid off the balance of the loan shark, paid off Su Wei's 5,000 yuan, and paid 2 months' rent, leaving more than 10,000 yuan in my hand. This is the most money I have in my hand since I graduated more than a year ago. But this case is not over yet. After Zhao Dejiang was arrested, the Procuratorate began to comprehensively sort out all his financial operations in the past 5 years, and Zhou Ming's previous confession was 70 million. But the actual amount found was much more than 70 million. Prosecutors found in the financial system of Tianhong Group that the external consulting fees approved by Zhao Dejiang added up to more than 120 million in 5 years. In addition to stealing other people's identities to sign false contracts, he also engaged in leather bag companies, false invoicing, and fictitious engineering consulting fees to obtain funds. The number of victims whose identities have been stolen has also increased from 7 to 11. The Procuratorate contacted these 11 people, except for me. 8 people did not know that their identity information had been fraudulently used, and 2 people found abnormalities, but they were afraid of causing trouble and did not know who to look for, so they did not pursue it, and I was the only one who called the police. After Su Wei told me the news, I sat there and was stunned for a long time. 11 people. If I had endured, feared, and forgotten like those 2 people, Zhao Dejiang might have continued to do it. He would have used more people's identities, more money, and more people until the incident occurred. But at that time the victims might have become 20 or 50. Those people are like me. They may be college students who have just graduated. They may be the children of ordinary workers' families. Maybe they can't even get 3 yuan. They have been stolen from their names, credits, and even their futures. But the initiators are wearing haute couture suits, living in duplexes with sea views, drinking mitai, and driving luxury cars. Thinking of this, I was not angry, only glad. Fortunately that day in the tax hall, I insisted on asking for that certificate. After Zhao Dejiang's case entered the prosecution stage, Tianhong Group finally couldn't sit still, but not because of the discovery of conscience, but because the China Securities Regulatory Commission intervened. The threat of reporting financial fraud mentioned by Su Wei in her lawyer's letter before has really come true, and the China Securities Regulatory Commission has launched an investigation into Tianhong Group, which means that Tianhong may face the risk of delisting, a listed company with a market value of more than 20 billion yuan. If it is delisted, all shareholders' money will be wasted. At this time, Tianhong's major shareholder, Zhao Dejiang's uncle Zhao Guochang, finally came forward. Zhao Guochang, 62 years old, is the founder of Tianhong and has a lot of weight in the coastal business community. He did 2 things. First, sent an open letter on the official website of Tianhong Group, saying that he was deeply saddened by Zhao Dejiang's illegal acts, and also emphasized that Tianhong Group will fully cooperate with the investigation and will never tolerate any violations of laws and regulations, and announced the establishment of a special rectification committee. Second, his secretary called Su Wei and said, "Lawyer Su, Zhao Dong wants to ask Mr. Lin Chen to meet." When Su Wei told me, I asked, "Meeting, what does he want to do?" Su Wei said, "I can't guess, but it's definitely not a bad thing." Tianhong is now staring at the China Securities Regulatory Commission, and Zhao Guochang can't do tricks at this juncture. I asked again, "Are you going?" Su Wei said, "Go. I'll accompany you." The meeting place is in the conference room on the top floor of the headquarters of Tianhong Group, on the 42nd floor, and the skyline of the entire coast is outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. Zhao Guochang was shorter than I imagined, but he was in good spirits, wearing a gray tunic. His hair was neatly combed, and he wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He did not sit at the main seat of the conference table, but sat in the middle of the long table, by the window, and when he saw us, he said, "Mr. Lin, Lawyer Su, please sit down." After we sat down, Zhao Guochang poured us a cup of tea for each of us, and then said, "Mr. Lin, this matter is that I, Zhao Guochang, did not discipline you strictly, and I am ashamed of you." When he said this, his tone was calm, as if he were talking about a trivial matter, but I could tell that it must have been rehearsed. I asked directly, "Chairman Zhao, you came to me, not just to say this, right?" Zhao Guochang put down the teapot. "Not only. I came to you to formally apologize to you, and at the same time discuss compensation with you." Saying that, he took out a document. Tianhong Group is willing to pay you 2 million in compensation, which includes the difference in tax refund of 350,000 yuan, usury interest, compensation for mental damages, and compensation for damage to your reputation. In addition, Tianhong Group is also willing to provide you with a formal job, and the job level and salary are up to you. 2 million, plus a job opportunity. This should be Zhao Guochang's sincerity, or in other words, the offer after he and Lawyer Su repeatedly played games. Before coming, Su Wei said to me, "They will only pay less than 1 million at the beginning. Don't talk when the time comes. They'll talk." And the final price is estimated to be between 105 to 3 million. 2 million is exactly within the estimated range. I glanced at Su Wei. Su Wei didn't speak, which means that the price can be discussed again. I asked Zhao Guochang, "Chairman Zhao, 2 million. What is the concept of Tianhong?" Zhao Guochang didn't answer, so I continued. "Let me help you calculate. Tianhong's net profit last year was 1.2 billion, and 2 million is 1.6710,000 of the net profit. In other words, Zhao Dejiang used my identity to set up 15 million. causing hundreds of millions of losses to your company. But you plan to use a net profit of 1.67 per 10,000 to settle this matter with me. Zhao Guochang picked up the teacup, took a sip slowly, and then asked, Mr. Lin, how much do you think is appropriate? I said, first, the compensation is 5 million. Second, Tianhong Group apologized to me publicly. Not the kind of open letter on the official website that played Tai Chi, but a formal, name-calling written apology. Third, Tianhong must also compensate the other 10 victims of identity theft. Fourth, remove Chen Ziyuan. Zhao Guochang's teacup stopped in midair and asked suspiciously, Chen Ziyuan. I explained, the deputy general manager of your administrative department. When I first came to Tianhong to find him, he clearly knew that there was a problem with the contract. But he did not cooperate with me, and hinted that I had good economic strength and ridiculed me for an annual salary of 15 million. This kind of person stays in your company, and I doubt your management ability. Zhao Guochang looked at me for a long time, and then smiled, not mocking, but with a complicated, appreciative smile. He asked, Mr. Lin, how old are you? I said, 23. Zhao Guochang sighed, 23 years old, unemployed for a year. There are only 3 yuan and 7 cents left in the bank card. And you dare to walk into Tianhong Group and talk to me about 5 million. You are much better than Zhao Dijiang. He opened the document, picked up a pen, drew a line on 2 million, and wrote 3.5 million. Su Wei glanced at me. I shook my head, and said firmly, 5 million. Zhao Guochang immediately answered, 4 million. I did not back down. 5 million. No bargaining. Zhao Guochang wanted to say something more, but I interrupted him. Chairman Zhao, when I borrowed usury, no one bargained with me. This sentence made Zhao Guochang's pen stop for 3 seconds. And then he said, okay. Then he wrote 5 million on the document, looked at me and said, I agree with the public apology and other victims' compensation. Chen Ziyuan's matter I immediately answered. Deal with it within a week. Zhao Guochang said, 3 days. I said, okay, 3 days. After that, Zhao Guochang, Su Wei and I all signed the agreement. 3 days later, Chen Ziyuan was removed from his post as deputy general manager of the administration department and transferred to an idle department of his subsidiary. Tianhong Group also issued a formal apology statement on its official website, Weibo, and WeChat public account, apologizing to me and 10 other victims by name. On the day of arrival, I sat on the bed in the rental house, staring at the balance on my mobile phone 5003, 720 yuan, from 3 yuan and 7 cents 2 to 5 million. This is simply digital magic. A month ago, I had to pay attention to even a pack of instant noodles, and a month later, I had 5 million in my account. I didn't get excited. I didn't cry. I just put my phone next to my pillow and stared at the ceiling for a long time. 3 months later, Zhao Dijiang's case was held, and I testified as a victim at the Binhai Intermediate People's Court. Zhao Dijiang sat in the dock, much thinner. His hair was more than white, and his complexion was the same as when he was detained 3 months ago. He glanced at me, without hatred or remorse. Just like looking at a malfunctioning office equipment, not with emotion, but with the feeling that it's really troublesome to break down. The prosecutor read out the indictment, and Zhao Dijiang was charged with 4 counts: embezzlement, forgery of company seals, fraud, and theft of identity documents, involving an amount of 120 million, 11 victims, and 23 false contracts. During my testimony, the prosecutor asked me, when did you first find out that your identity has been stolen? I said, in February this year, at the Binhai tax hall. The prosecutor asked again, what was your bank card balance at that time? I said, 3 yuan, 7 cents and 2. The tax bureau tells you how much tax you need to pay, 350,000. How did you do it? I borrowed usury, paid taxes, and then called the police. There was a slight commotion in the audience, which was quickly stopped by the bailiffs. The prosecutor asked again, why do you have to borrow usury to pay taxes? Why not just refuse or appeal? I said, because they said that if they don't pay it, they will be on the list of dishonesty, and if they are on the list, I won't be able to find a job. The prosecutor nodded and said, but you did one thing before paying taxes. I said, I asked them to issue me a certificate. What kind of proof? In black and white, stamped. It states that I have an annual income of 15 million and need to pay 350,000 taxes. Why do you want this certificate? I glanced at Zhao Dijiang and said, because if I really have 15 million, this certificate is the proof that I can get this money back. If I don't have 15 million, it means that someone stole it. And no matter what kind it is, this piece of paper is evidence. Someone in the audience applauded and was stopped by the bailiffs. Zhao Dijiang's defense lawyer made a final statement, which probably meant that Zhao Dijiang pleaded guilty and accepted punishment and requested lenient treatment. Prosecutors recommended a sentence of 15 to 20 years, and the judge announced a date for sentencing. After leaving the courthouse, Su Wei was waiting for me at the door, and she said, you are doing well. I said, there is nothing that is not shown. It is all the truth. Su Wei said, truth is the most powerful. I glanced at her and said seriously, Lawyer Su, thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have come this far. Su Wei waved her hand. You walked by yourself. I just helped you block some obstacles on the road. As she spoke, she handed me a business card, not hers, but someone else's, which read, Zhou Haiping, General Manager of Binhai Ruisi Consulting Company Limited, and a string of phone numbers. I asked, who is this? Su Wei said, an old customer of mine. His company lacks a person to do financial analysis. You are learning in this direction. I mentioned your situation to him. He is very interested. I asked again, what are you interested in? Su Wei smiled. I am interested in a person who even has to calculate 3 yuan and 7 cents and 2 cents. What will happen to finance? 2 weeks later, I joined Binhai Ruisi Consulting Company Limited. The position is a junior financial analyst, with a monthly salary of 8,000, which is not high. But this is the first official job in my life. On the day the first month's salary arrived, I transferred 2,000 yuan to my mother, and she quickly called, Son, have you found a job? I said, I found it. What job? Do finance. Where is it? Binhai, a consulting company. What is the salary? 8,000. The other end of the phone was quiet for a few seconds, and then my mother said, 8,000 is enough. Don't spend it indiscriminately. I said, My mother asked again, have you had enough to eat? I said, I'm full. That's good. After hanging up the phone, I opened the takeaway software and ordered a sauerkraut fish, 38 yuan, which was the first time in my 23 years that I placed an order without looking at the price. A month later, the court made a first instance judgment on Zhao Dijiang's case. Zhao Dijiang was sentenced to 18 years in prison, deprived of political rights for 5 years, and confiscated all personal illegal gains. Zhou Ming was sentenced to 6 years in prison and fined 500,000 yuan. Zhou Ming's mother, Sun Leihua, was dealt with in a separate case on suspicion of covering up and concealing the proceeds of crime. The other 3 people who helped Zhao Dijiang get the money were sentenced to 3 to 5 years. On the day the verdict came down, I was sorting out the customer's financial statements in the office, and Su Wei sent WeChat. Have you seen it? I said, I saw it. What do you feel? I thought for a while and replied, I don't feel anything. I really don't feel it. Well, 18 years, 6 years. These numbers are a price for them. Just a result for me. Then what do you care? I care about those 11 people, including me. Our names have been stolen. Our credit has been trampled. And some people may not know that they once had an annual salary of tens of millions. The verdict does not change what has happened. But at least, there will be no 12th victim in the future. Su Wei did not reply, and after a while, a villain emoticon with a thumbs up was sent. Half a year after joining the company, Zhou Haiping transferred me to the core project team because I found a suspicious related party transaction in a customer's financial data, and no one else saw it. But I saw it, because I had a deep pain in the 4 words false transaction. A year later, I was promoted 1 level and my monthly salary rose to 12,000. Su Wei helped me with financial planning, 5 million in compensation. After deducting her lawyer's fees, she only received 100,000 yuan, which is much lower than the market price, and then paid off all debts, made up for my parents' living expenses, and there was still 4.1 million left. She helped me make a steady investment, with an expected annualized return of 5 to 7, which is not much, but very stable. Su Wei said, your biggest asset now is not more than 4 million. I asked, what is it? She said, it's your experience. A person who has gone from 3 yuan and 7 cents to today will no longer be afraid of anything. I didn't speak. In fact, I am still afraid. Afraid of rent increases next month. Afraid of sudden layoffs. Afraid of debt collection calls when the mobile phone rings. But these fears are different from a year ago. A year ago, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to live. But now I'm afraid that I won't live well enough, which is a kind of extravagant progress. In the 3rd month after the verdict in Zhao Dijiang's case, I received a letter without a signature or a reply address, and there was only a line of handwritten words on the letter. Brother Chin, I'm sorry. I know this handwriting. It is Zhou Ming's. He wrote the word morning. The day on the right is always written very flat. From freshman to senior year. I folded the letter, put it in the drawer, and didn't reply. It's not that I don't forgive him. It's that there are some things that can't be solved by apologizing. An apology can't get back my unemployment that year. I can't get back the humiliation of being ridiculed. I can't get back the afternoon when I was treated as a liar in the tax hall. But I don't hate him. I hated too much energy. I can't afford that cost for someone who earns 12,000 a month. 2 years later, a lot happened. Zhou Haiping's company received financing in the 2nd year after I joined, doubling its scale, and I was promoted to deputy manager of the financial analysis department, with a team of 5 people, a monthly salary of 28,000 yuan, and a year-end bonus. Su Weiss law firm has also expanded, from 3 people to 12 people. And the annual salary of tens of millions of poor egg cases has become her landmark case, and many clients have come to admire it. My relationship with Su Wei has also changed from a lawyer and client to a friend, and we occasionally eat and run together. She is 7 years older than me, divorced once, and has a 5-year-old daughter named Little Orange. When Little Orange saw me for the first time, he raised his head and asked, "Are you the uncle who is 3 yuan and 7 cents?" Su Wei almost laughed next to me. I squatted down and said to her, "Yes. But now it's more than 3 yuan and 7. Little Orange asked again, "Then how much money do you have now?" I said, "A little more than 3 yuan 7. How much?" Guess what? Little Orange tilted his head and thought for a while, and said, 4 pieces. All 3 of us laughed. 3 years later, one weekend afternoon, I received a strange phone call, and the other party said, "Mr. Lin Chen." I said, "It's me." The other party said, "Hello, I am a staff member of the Information Security Department of the State Administration of Taxation, and my surname is Wang." My fingers tightened slightly and asked, "What's the matter?" The other party said, "That's right, Mr. Lin. We saw your case 3 years ago and apologize for what happened to you. We are currently promoting a nationwide taxpayer identity security verification system upgrade project, and we would like to invite you to participate in the demonstration and testing of this project as a social supervisor." I asked, "Social supervisor?" The other party said, "Yes. Your case exposes serious vulnerabilities in the identity verification process of the existing system, and we hope to help us find and patch these vulnerabilities by bringing in people with practical experience. This is a part-time position with a fixed monthly consulting fee." I asked, "How much?" The other party said, 5,000 a month. Not a lot of money, but it's not about money, which means that my tax certificate, my call to the police, eventually drove some real change. I immediately said, "I'm participating." 5 years later, I am 30 years old, the manager of the Financial Analysis Department of Ruisi Consulting, with an annual salary of 450,000 yuan. And the total assets of the name plus investment income are just over 8 million, which is not rich, but enough. I have my own house, not a sea view house, but a 2-bedroom and 1 living room in an ordinary community in the east of the city, more than 80 square meters. And I paid the down payment myself, with a monthly payment of 3,000 and 6. There is also a 150,000 Toyota Corolla. A girlfriend, not Su Wei, the company's new account manager last year, named Lin Zijin, 2 years younger than me, and has a small tiger tooth when he smiles. After Su Wei found out, she invited us both to a meal, and during the banquet, Xiao Orange asked me, "Uncle, are you getting married?" I said, "It's early." Little Orange asked again, "Then when will you get married?" I said, "When you grow up and be my bridesmaid." Little Orange rolled her eyes and said, "Old-fashioned. I shouldn't be a bridesmaid. I want to be a flower girl." That night, when I came out of the restaurant, Su Wei stopped me in the parking lot and said, "Lin Chen." I said, "Ha." Su Wei said, "When you came to my office 5 years ago, you held a tax payment certificate in your hand, and your clothes were old, but your eyes were very bright." I asked, "Why are you saying this?" Su Wei said, "I didn't do anything. I just want to tell you that I still remember how you walked in that day." I asked, "What does it look like?" Su Wei said, "Like a person who bets the last 3 yuan and 7 cents on the table." I looked at her and said seriously, "I wasn't gambling at that time." Su Wei asked, "Then what are you doing?" I said, "I'm asking for what is mine." Su Wei smiled and asked, "Did you get it back?" I thought about it. 350,000 yuan of tax refund, 5 million in compensation. Loan shark paid off. Zhao Dejiang was in prison. Zhou Ming was serving a sentence. Tianhong Group system loopholes were repaired. The national taxpayer identity verification system was upgraded. I had a job, a house, a car, a girlfriend and savings. My mother called me, and no longer asked, "Did you find a job?" but changed it to, "When will you bring your girlfriend back?" I replied in my heart, "Well, I almost got it back." When I got home that night, I opened the innermost drawer of the dressing room, and the tax payment certificate was still there. The paper was a little yellow, and there was slight wear on the creases, but the red seal on it was still clear, which read, "Taxpayer Lin Chen, labor remuneration income of RMB 15,000,000, should pay individual income tax of 350,000 yuan, which has been paid in full on X year, X month, X day." I looked at it for a long time, then put it back and closed the drawer. That piece of paper is the most valuable investment I have ever made in my life, costing 350,000 yuan, and the return is a whole life.